Well, it took me way too fucking long, but I finally did it. I finally sat down and watched Halloween Kills from 2021. I don't necessarily want to say long anticipated sequel to the Halloween franchise, but the film that came after Halloween from 2018, a film that I actually kind of liked. I know a lot of kind of horror reboots, horror remakes, things like that can have kind of volatile reactions. Some people love them, a lot of people fucking hate them, and the people who hate them are like, they don't even give them a chance. And I actually thought Halloween 2018 was pretty fucking good. Um, the whole canon thing is like whatever. Ooh, nothing from Halloween's literally two through the Rob Zombie remake mattered, which is like, all right, fine. I think the whole Halloween franchise as a whole has plenty of entertaining films, whether it is the movies that are included or not. But yeah, this movie came out last year, and I want to say maybe like 2 or 3 years ago. They had announced that they were going to be making a sequel to Halloween 2018 because that movie made a fuck ton of money, and I was really excited actually because, like I said, I did think that movie was it wasn't the greatest in the series or anything like that, but I thought it was like a top five in the Halloween series for sure. And it was my favorite of the new Halloween movies. Like, I really don't care for Rob Zombie's sequel, but I actually liked the original 2007 Halloween remake. As fucked as it is, and again, it's one of those like really polarizing movies. I think some people really like it. Some people like it better than the original. Some people fucking hate it, which I think is actually kind of the fun part. Excuse me, about like the Halloween franchise. Basically, a lot of people, you know, they hold the original 1978 Halloween movie as like the magnum opus for not only the slasher genre, but like just like 70s and 80s horror as a whole. It's universally coined as the greatest slasher movie of all time. A lot of people think it's one of the greatest movies of the 20th century, which is pretty amazing for just a movie, in the horror genre about just a guy with a mask killing people, right? Like it's quite crazy. But no, I did enjoy that movie, but I want to say it was like maybe 2019 or shortly after they announced that they were going to be making not just one sequel, but two sequels, and they were going to be shooting them at the same time. So they were going to be making Halloween Kills and Halloween Ends simultaneously. And for me, I am not one of those people who gets overly invested in the canon, in the lore, and I'm like, oh my god, don't even make any movies. Any sequels that you continue to make are going to belittle and ruin the legacy of the original, and like it's just a cash grab. Bro, it's not that serious. I just want to watch a good movie. Yes, Halloween Resurrection fucking sucks. Yes, Halloween 2 fucking sucks. Yes, a lot of the later entries in the prolific franchises fucking suck. Texas Chainsaw 3D fucking sucks. But goddamn it, I personally, when it comes to horror and slashers and shit like that, and stuff that doesn't have necessarily a super intricate plot, I'm not opposed to quantity over quality, especially when most of the quantity that we've come to know and love is not that quality. Like, I'm not gonna bitch about a new Friday the 13th because, goddamn it, there are 12 Friday the 13th films, and only like 3 or 4 of them are like top tier. Most of them are like B or like C tier, right? And that's okay. We love that. Um, and so going into Halloween Kills, I knew there was going to be a sequel. The sequel is actually already out, and I cannot believe I did not watch Halloween Kills in theaters when it came out last year. The hype, like I said, I did enjoy Halloween 2018 quite a bit, and so I had pretty high not I didn't have high expectations, but I figured I would enjoy Halloween uh, Kills because Jamie Lee Curtis was going to be in it, and she basically more or less has been kind of the catalyst and or like a bright spot and has stolen the show in basically any Friday or not Friday, any Halloween movie she's been in. And you know, it's one of those things where if she's gonna sign off on it, I am going to trust that it is of some quality, right? Because she is a relatively big established name. And you know, she claimed that she just wanted to be done with it, and so I'm like, all right, let's do it. You know, I'll watch these last few movies, and you know, finally got to sit down and watch this shit on HBO Max. I'm going to see the Halloween Ends movie for sure, regardless of how good or bad Halloween Kills ended up being. As a horror fan, as somebody who's seen literally all of the Halloween movies, how many are there? Like, I think there are 12 now, maybe even more than that. I don't even know. I had to watch this, right? I had to, regardless of how good or bad it was. I was gonna watch both of them, and so how do I feel about Halloween Kills? I'm gonna be honest, man. My expectation, I didn't really have any expectations, and coming out of this movie, I feel pretty on the I don't feel disappointed, but I also don't feel like, wow, that was amazing, you know. And I don't really know how to feel about that, you know. I think that this movie did try to add in some things for fanfare that I feel like is going to absolutely rub the wrong people. It's going to rub people the wrong fucking way, no doubt. People are going to be pissed that certain characters from, you know, the original Halloween movie or from earlier on in the series that really, you know, didn't have much of an impact on the story come back and are played in some cases by different actors and, you know, act one way or the other, or, you know, spoiler, ultimately get fucking killed. And I can definitely understand. I mean, a lot of people were pissed about the 2018 remake, which I thought was rather inoffensive and quite badass. I think that's going to be even more so the case with this movie. Again, quantity over quality for the most part. As long as it's not like a cheap fucking direct to DVD sequel. As long as it is a competently shot, competently made film, it's not like Wrong Turn, you know, anything after Wrong Turn 2, basically. I'm cool with that, right? And this movie is definitely competently shot. You know, some of the acting's pretty bad, which is kind of wild for a movie as high profile as this and with the budget it has. There are some moments where I'm like, whoa, dude, you butchered that fucking line delivery. And maybe that's to be expected because, you know, I thought it was kind of cool. They did get a few actors and actresses from the original to reprise their roles from the 1978 classic, because the canon of this movie is, at this point, just Halloween from 78 and then Halloween from 2018. So it ignores all of the sequels, Halloween 2, you know, Halloween 4, 5, 6. Like, there's no Jamie Lloyd. Like, there's none of that. But you did get to see Lindsay, the girl who was getting babysat in the original. She came back. Sheriff Brackett, his fucking old ass. He looks nothing. Charles Cyphers looks completely different. In my opinion, he does not look like the same person. Because like in Halloween, he was like 40 maybe, so he was kind of an older adult. He wasn't like a young, like Lindsay, for example, she was like 12. So, you know, you can understand how she looks nothing like she does now when she's 50 years old. But Charles Cyphers, I don't know. I mean, he's like 80 something, but I couldn't even recognize it was him. But I just was like, he's super old. The actor that they have playing him is super old and kind of raggedy. I'm curious as to see if it was the original character, and it was, which is cool. So I did like that. They also got the, I believe her name is Marion, the doctor who sat alongside Donald Pleasance, like in the car at the very beginning of the original Halloween, which was cool. And I did appreciate that. And, you know, where I can see people are going to be pissed is as admirable as it was to get those original actors and actresses, some of which, in my opinion, are not very good actors and actresses, I was not a fan of kind of how they went out in some cases. And just in general, I feel like they didn't really do much with it. It was just kind of like, oh, hey, look, it's the, actress who played Lindsay 45 years later. Or, oh shit, Charles Cyphers is still alive. Hey, he doesn't really do anything. And in some cases, some of those characters who, I mean, not like I really gave a fuck about the character of Lindsay or about Sheriff Brackett necessarily, because in the grand scheme of things, they didn't really have much to do with anything in the original 1978 movie. Personally, it was Jamie Lee Curtis, The Shape, and Michael Myers, and I guess you could say Donald Pleasance were, in my opinion, the only like significant actors and characters that I really cared about. Excuse me. But they did bring back. Well, they didn't bring back. They brought back Tommy Doyle, right? The other child, Lindsay's counterpart, if you will, who actually had a pretty prolific role. Like he was the leader of the mob, if you will, that was trying to band against Michael Myers and exact his revenge. And they got a different actor. They couldn't get the guy who originally played Tommy Doyle, which is, it is what it is. I looked it up because I was just so curious, because between Brackett, between Lindsay, between Marion, all those people had kind of minuscule roles, but he was like very much like had like a revenge arc for whatever reason. In my opinion, I didn't really give a fuck about his performance or about his character, really. I mean, the fact that it wasn't the original actor kind of loses a little bit of brownie points, because it's just like, oh shit, you're the kid who really didn't have much significance in the original movie. What's up, bro? But they also brought in a few storylines from the original that you kind of overlooked. And I don't believe they got... I didn't actually look into it to see if they got the original actors, or I guess actor that I can think of from the original. But the bully character from the original movie who like comes face to face with Michael Myers, and he like falls with the pumpkin and like gets grabbed, like he's like bullying Tommy Doyle or whatever, and like he like looks up at him, and like you don't get to see Michael Myers' mask, and it just pans off, and like he runs away. That kid turns out to be the father of Jamie Lee Curtis's granddaughter's boyfriend, who, in my opinion, was a piece of shit. Hated him in the 2018 remake because he cheats on her and then takes her phone and like throws it in the cheese or whatever. And all of this is like a direct continuation. I want to say this. This is all a direct continuation from the same fucking night. The longest night in the history of the world. Because so much shit happens. So many people are out and about too. Like, the sun is down by the time like they burn the they burn down Laurie Strode's house or whatever. So it's got to be like midnight, right? Because it's like enough time had passed. And there's so much shit that happens, like at the hospital, and like freaking Laurie Strode has goddamn surgery. Like, the fact that everything happens on the same night in this fucking movie, it had to have been like 5 a.m. by the time the ending happened, because it's crazy. It's absolutely fucking bonkers. But the characters that they brought in that were kind of insignificant from the original movie, they also had like this kind of interesting subplot with the sheriff that was alongside Sheriff Brackett, who shot and killed one of the original police officers who was like supposed to stop Michael Myers. He like shot him in the face on accident, and like 40 years later it's like this whole big thing, and like they changed a few things. They didn't necessarily change, but they added a few extra things towards the end of the original Halloween movie that, again, I can see some people are going to be pissed about. Me, I'm not, too emotionally impacted by it. I really don't care. But, they did kind of implement a scene from the supposed to be canon in the original, where like he just comes out of the house and like everybody converges on him and just beats the fuck out of him. Which the same fucking thing happens at the end of the movie, but Michael absolutely busts open a can of whoop ass, and just wow, yeah. I don't know. I think that the characters and the plot points that they added in that were supposed to be canon for the series at this point, with I guess the 4 movies that are included, or the 3 movies, you know, the original, 2018, Kills and Ends, so 4 movies. You can kind of take them or leave them. I didn't find them overly offensive. I didn't also find them too ham-fisted, I guess, because at the end of the day, watching this movie, you knew, for me at this point, and just in general when it came out, you knew there was going to be another movie after. So you know Michael Myers and Laurie Strode, and you know you have a feeling that some of the other characters, her daughter, her granddaughter, they're not going to fucking die because there's a whole nother movie. So it's just a matter of how are these, you know, showdowns, and like how are these people who are, you know, gonna get into it with Michael Myers, how are they gonna die? Because you know Michael Myers is gonna fucking die, right? And that made for some kind of interesting and at first badass and like holy shit scenes, but later on in the movie it was like, okay, come on, like what the fuck? And what I mean by that is the very beginning of the movie when he's coming out of the Laurie Strode's burning house. Pretty dope scene, by the way, where he kills the 2 firefighters, like pulls them down under. But at the time, I was like, okay, Michael Myers is about to come face to face with like 8 fucking firefighters equipped with weapons, and he just like takes them out one by one, like in like a WWE style SmackDown. Excuse me. Which, you know, at the time, I thought was pretty badass and was like, holy fuck. Again, it's 12 minutes into a movie where I know there's a sequel afterwards. Michael's not gonna fucking die, but it's like, how the fuck is he gonna get out of this? And it was pretty insane. Like, the dude slaughtered like 8 or 9 people, and I gotta admit, and I gotta say, from a horror standpoint, gore, violence, action in general, this is probably the best Halloween movie in the entire fucking franchise. Like, they do not skimp out on the blood, the guts, the gore, all that shit. Like, it checks all the boxes. It's pretty fucking good. Like, it's not CG'd or anything like that. Like, it is absolutely fucking brutal. And the kill count, the body count is nuts. I mean, he kills a fuck ton of people. And so that is one thing I gotta say. It is, in my opinion, the goriest and the most brutal Halloween movie. I think it beats out the 2018, and I also think it beats out the 2007 remake, which I quite enjoyed for its brutality and its macabre nature. But at times, though, it got to a point where it's like, oh my gosh, you know, Michael's gonna get the shit kicked out of him by like a bunch of cops or a bunch of, you know, mob people with guns and pitchforks and axes and all this, and like, oh wow, he somehow manages, like the ending, for example. Spoiler alert, not really, because there's like I said, it's a sequel coming in. The fact that you knew there was a sequel, obviously I watched it after it already came out, you know, dumb on me, but even when it came out, you knew Halloween Ends was coming, which in my opinion kind of waters down some parts of it. I mean, I don't know, it's like the 11th or 12th movie in the series, so how much does it actually? I don't know. But to me, in the back of my mind when I was watching, it's like, okay, he's not actually, like, nothing really is gonna happen. It's just a matter of how are these fuckers gonna die? How is he gonna survive? But the ending is fucking ridiculous. Because there's so many fucking people, and he just takes them out, like... It's entertaining, but it's, like, kind of stupid, you know? Kind of fucking stupid. But, you know, ultimately, they tried to add in as much kind of interesting plot points and characters and just things happening to kind of liven up and add variety to what is essentially just Halloween slasher fodder, basically. Um, Executed in, like I said, really good fashion. Not a ton of suspense, I will say. There wasn't a ton of like, you know, really creepy or, you know, very um, quintessential like original Halloween 1978 type moments. A lot of it was just like, holy fuck, Michael Myers is here. He's gonna take somebody's head. He's gonna ram it into the fucking wall, or he's gonna take a goddamn light fixture and jam it through some random motherfucker's mouth. Like, like, which is like, it's okay, but it's not. And this is where I can definitely think it's gonna fucking piss a lot of people off, and it is gonna be sacrilegious to a lot of people, because there are a lot of people that love the original Halloween movie. They love its suspense. They love how, yes, it is simple. It's a guy who kills people, but it's not just a guy who stalks and just murders the fuck out of people. It's got the score. It's got the creepy cinematography. It's got the uneasiness and the mastery of simplicity. This movie does not have that at all. Again, I don't think that's fundamentally the worst thing in the world. But you know, at the same time, yeah, I didn't really care for, you know, their attempts to try and liven up this slasher Michael Myers killing people fodder that we had for about an hour and 45 minutes. In particular, the escaped convict subplot or whatever, because, you know, Michael Myers breaks out of the Smiths Grove Sanitarium or whatever, and there's like another dude that breaks out with him, because they like showed it on the TV or whatever, and like the entire city of Haddonfield. Again, this all happened on one night, so this had to have been at like 4 in the fucking morning. Gather at the hotel. I've never seen so many fucking people up at this goddamn hour. How many people live in Haddonfield? I don't fucking know. It's supposed to be a suburb. Anyway, like I said, the fact that, to my knowledge, this all happens on one night is just crazy. And I could be wrong on that, but I'm pretty sure it does. But I guess I kind of got what they were going for, because it just kind of goes to show the madness and just the overall chaos that Michael Myers incites along the entire community, that they chase this random fucking dude who is like some fat guy who, I guess, for whatever reason, he like stole somebody's car and like hid in the back seat of these like 2 random characters. Like I didn't really get it. But he ends up like jumping off the roof because people are gonna try and kill him, and like Laurie Strode's daughter tries to save him, and like he's just like this poor fucking crazy dude who doesn't like say anything the entire movie. I don't know, like, again, you gotta try and mix up the plot somehow, because this is an hour and 45-minute long movie of Michael Myers killing people, and with another movie coming down the pipeline, he's not gonna kill Laurie Strode. He's probably not going to kill her granddaughter, and he's not going to die himself. So you just kind of have to find some stuff to work in there. And like I said, I got to give him some credit, because it wasn't the worst thing in the world, but it was kind of stupid, right? It didn't really go anywhere. But I don't know. I think in the end, the fact that Laurie Strode, Jamie Lee Curtis, gets little to no play in this movie, which is fair. In Halloween 2, when she's in the hospital, funny enough, just like she is in this movie for a vast majority of it, she doesn't have a whole lot of time either, although I still liked her performance in that movie. I don't know, I feel like for all the movies that she's in, she usually plays a pretty significant role, and she does a good job, and she definitely brings not only credibility to the movie, but enhances it significantly. And I just felt like, I don't want to say she phoned it in, because it's not like there was anything that was overtly bad, or like, she just seemed dejected the whole time. I mean, like, she, has surgery at one point, and then again, all in one night, manages to, escape the hospital and try and hunt down Michael Myers and the mob, and like she gets like fucking stabbed in the gut, where she just had surgery like an hour ago to heal a fucking stab wound in her. Like, absolutely not realistic. but you know, she ends up back in the hospital at the end, and there's, you know, that little relationship she has with the police officer from the beginning that was like worked into the plot that ended up shooting his partner or whatever, trying to kill Michael Myers. Like, you know, that whole subplot, which was fine. I didn't have a problem with that one. I kind of liked it a little bit. Because I thought it worked relatively seamlessly. They worked in a few flashbacks, and the guy they got to play, Sam Loomis, pretty damn good, bro. For a Donald Pleasant's doppelganger, he didn't have a ton of screen time. There wasn't any scenes in particular where he was the primary focus, but for like a few seconds. But I thought he looked pretty fucking dead on, bro. For a second, I thought they pulled old like stock footage that they had. That's how good it looked. So I got to give them kudos, kudos for that. But I don't know. I'm looking forward to seeing Halloween Ends and how it ultimately ends. Just because you know, I guess you have to go into this movie knowing that there's another one, so you can't. It's hard to rate it as a standalone movie. And you know, if you were to stack it up against a vast majority of, you know, movies in this same vein of these franchises, these kind of middle ground, like, you know, your Friday the 13th part 6s, part 7s, where you know there's going to be more movies afterwards, Halloween 5, Halloween 4, stuff like that. It's not bad. You know, like I said, the horror aspects, there's not a lot of suspense, there's not a lot of score, there's not a lot of stuff like that, like the, you know, integral components of like the original Halloween that made it so significant and great or whatever. But the gore is insane. The brutality is insane. Like, it is fucked. Like I said, it outclasses what Rob Zombie did, and that's saying a lot because Rob Zombie usually is pretty, like, he prioritizes that shit, and he usually doesn't skimp out either in his movies. His movies are usually pretty fucking gross. But there's kills like crazy in this, and so if you are a gore hound, if you're somebody who likes violence, I think this, in my opinion, is the most violent, bloody, and brutal of all of the Halloween movies. So I gotta give it some credit in that aspect from a horror standpoint. But ultimately, I don't know, man. I didn't really have any expectations walking into it, and after watching it, I still don't really have any strong feeling one way or another. I think it excels, like I said, in the violence aspect, the brutality horror aspects, but I think it kind of falls short when it comes to, you know, bringing in some of these other characters and these plot points. And ultimately, at the end of the day, you know, Laurie Strode doesn't really have too significant of a role. I wasn't a super big fan of her daughter or granddaughter in the 2018 film. And again, they're just kind of turning their wheels and tires. I guess, you know, the upside is her fucking boyfriend gets fucking destroyed on like a fucking banister, which is cool. Fuck that kid. I hated him so much. Very glad that he met his demise in a pretty brutal way. But I mean, you had to know Laurie Strode's gonna live. Most likely her granddaughter and daughter are gonna live, and Michael's gonna live. And I knew that basically watching the entire film. And, you know, I still enjoyed the scenes where he's got to die, he's got to surrender. There's no way he's going to be able to defeat all these people or make it out alive, and somehow he did. I thought they were kind of entertaining despite how over the top at times and just ridiculous and kind of stupid at a minute it got. Like, it's like, what the fuck's the point of like surrounding him with all these people when you know he's going to make it out alive? At least we got to see some of the violence, some of the badassery. Like, the choreography was pretty good. The gore effects I thought were really good. It has a high budget, so that's to be expected. But the choreography was pretty damn good as well. But I don't know. I'm definitely interested and excited to see Halloween Kills. I'm going to see it anyway as a horror fan. You know, Halloween, Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street, Texas Chainsaw Massacre. They're classics. You got to watch them all. You know, you can't consider yourself a horror fan if you aren't going to watch those movies, or you say you haven't seen them, because goddamn it, everybody's seen Halloween Resurrection. Everybody's seen Jason X. Everybody's, you know, they've seen Friday the 13th Part 8, right? They've seen Nightmare on Elm Street 6. Okay, it's what us horror fans do. You know, I feel kind of lukewarm on it. I think I would watch it again. And generally, if I would watch a movie again, that means I didn't dislike it per se. But I'm gonna go with a 2.5 out of 5, right smack dab in the middle, because I can't say I liked it. I can't say I disliked it either. I liked some aspects. I didn't love some aspects. But you know, if you're a horror fan, I would say it's worth checking out. You know, and Halloween Ends is shaping up to be a pretty fucking big blockbuster movie. Probably one of the biggest horror movies of this year. So definitely highly recommend checking that out. And if you're going to check that out, you should probably watch this movie. Definitely watch Halloween 2018 because I thought that movie was damn good. I did like it more than this one. But at the same time, it's not as bad as Halloween Resurrection. It's not as bad as Halloween 6. I personally would prefer it over. I don't know if I'd prefer it over like Halloween 4 or 5 because those are like classics to me. Like they're not great movies, but you know they're just kind of part of that whole. You know, in my opinion, I enjoyed the Jamie Lloyd storyline for most of it. But you know, I think it's better than Resurrection. I think it's better than Halloween 6. I think it's better than Halloween 2. I guess in that vein, it makes it the fourth worst. I don't know. I'd have to rewatch them all to like truly rank it, but potentially after I watch Halloween Ends, maybe I'll do like a tier list for myself to see how all of the movies stack up. But overall, I think it's pretty good. I thought it was okay. Sorry. I can definitely see how it's gonna rub some people the wrong way. But for me, the violence, it was worth a watch. As a horror fan, I've seen a lot worse, and there are worse Halloween films, not only in the series, but in this fucking century, right? So, not bad, and I am definitely looking forward to seeing how Halloween ends, if it actually is going to end. Probably not, but 2.5 out of 5, it's alright.